Good morning, everyone. We're almost getting ready here, so we'll be waiting for an additional few seconds, and we'll be on our way very soon now. So let's give it 20 seconds or 30 seconds, and we are good to go. Okay. All right, guys, let's get this started. Let's go. Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening to all our viewers and guests in Asia Pacific. Welcome to our digital launch event. Today, we are going to discuss marketing insights and data collection process and how our new consumer intelligence platform, which is called Toluna Start, can deliver agility, speed, and quality to all organizations. So we have a lot of valuable information, product demonstration, and panel discussions with industry leaders in approximately an hour window. So lots to talk about. So I want to start with saying that this event is the little sister of our larger event, which took place about a month ago for our US and European counterparts. So for us, as well over here in Asia Pacific, we have a great roster of presenters, speakers, and attendees, but this time from all over Asia Pacific, from a wide range of backgrounds within the insights industry. I would like to thank you all for taking the time out of your schedules to join us today. My name is Ludo, and I'm the Managing Director of the Asia Pacific region here at Toluna. I'm based out of our Hong Kong office. This is actually where I am live speaking to you. I'm delighted to kick this off. And to get this started, for those who would not know this year, 2020, is Toluna's 20th anniversary. The company was created in Paris in 2000. And so originally we planned for this event to be held in person so we could celebrate our 20th anniversary with our clients and partners and staff, so we could showcase the launch of the Toluna Starts. We actually thought of live shows. Our founder and still CEO today, Frédéric Petit, would be on stage, introducing the platform, entertaining, etc. Well, obviously, all that plan did not work. 2020 had a different agenda. So just like the market research industry today, we've had to be agile and adapt to the situation, arrange around the situation. So no stage, no big screen, no food, no drinks, nothing. It's just going to be this virtual event. Before we get into the fun bits, let's quickly go through our agenda for today, please. So, all right. So you can see on the top banner, the idea is that I'm going to be starting the session with a quick introduction to Toluna, but just right after that, Susan Bidler out of the UK. Susan is our Managing Director at Harris Interactive. She will be talking about the changing needs of our industry and the drivers for more agile solutions and how Toluna Start helps you meet the challenge. Right after Susan, we'll have Sahi Ben Yosef out of Israel. Israel is actually where we have our technology group, and Sahi is our Senior Vice President of Product Innovation for the group. He will present an overview of the new Toluna Start platform, short demo. The focus will be centered around agile real-time insights and how the platform helps our client engage with consumers all over the world to derive actionable solutions. And last but not least, we have organized for you a roundtable discussion to hear from insights leaders on why agility is critical to the success of their organizations. And this is where I would like to make some introductions. So we host today 5 insights professionals from household names, global companies. So we have Rie Kiyono from Danone Japan, Research Director and Head of Insights Japan. We'll have with us Chris McKay, Category Development Team Lead, Hygiene and Home Products in Australia for Reckitt Benckiser. We'll have as well Joanna Derry, Head of Insights and Corporate Brand Australia for Nestle. We'll have as well Mariko Tekimura, Assistant Manager, New Product Opportunity and Innovation in Japan for the Lion Corporation. And finally, we'll have Misha Gardmeta, Manager of Market Insights for Philip Morris International out of India. Welcome to you all, and thank you very much for joining us. Okay, So we'll try and we'll make sure actually we're going to stay within schedule. That's a maximum 60 minutes. Okay, so let's get this going, and I'll be really brief and short. Just for whoever is not familiar with us, Toluna is a global real-time insights firm. It's covering the Toluna brand, the Harris Interactive brand, which is our digital market research arm, if you will. It's out of the UK, France, and Germany only. We also have Corun Data, which is our China entity out of Shanghai. Toluna was founded 20 years ago by Frédéric Petit. He had a simple idea in mind at the time, which was to democratize market research and empower all business decision makers with the right data to make the best informed decisions in real time. Now, over the course of 20 years, the group has evolved to cover all aspects of the market research data collection industry. And today we combined the best of human insights with the best technology to help our clients and partners make faster and better business decisions, driving positive outcome. At Toluna, we are a unique mix of skills covering technology, covering research expertise, and we also own one of the largest global consumer insights communities in the world. Our staff of 1,400 professionals span 26 offices around the globe, and we strive to be a global group, but which can support your needs locally. So to be more precise around you guys, you will find us in 10 offices across Asia Pacific, in India, in Japan, and in Korea, but also in China. We are in Shanghai, Beijing, but we're also in Hong Kong, as I am today. Also then in Singapore, Malaysia, Australia, and New Zealand. We are heavily invested in technology. We strongly believe that powerful technology focused on agility and automation will actually help the market stay ahead of fast-moving consumer behaviors. Actually, looking at 2020, if it's been teaching us anything this year, is that agility and real-time data collection is really core to any insights program. And finally, we need to add that we have that ability to reach the right people at the right moment, to ask them the right questions, and that's critical to the success of any research study. Our ability to tap into over 30 million consumers across 70 countries with a deep degree of profiling means that you can build and reach the right audience every time. Okay, that's it for me. I would like now to invite Susan on stage. Susan's going to engage with us on what we see as being the drivers for more agile solutions in market research. Early morning in the UK. Good morning, Susan. Over to you. Thanks for joining.
Thanks, Ludo, and hello, everyone. I'm delighted to be here today with you all. As you've heard from Ludo, the Toluna Start platform is being developed to meet both the current and the evolving needs of both brands and agencies in the market. And we want to expand on that and take a few minutes to explore what the needs are in this space, how they're evolving, and how these needs are addressed through the platform via a demonstration which my colleague Sahi will take you through. So to start with, market research has changed a great deal over the last few years, and the pace of change has really only accelerated over the past 6 to 12 months. The business problems that we help organizations solve have not changed a great deal. However, what has changed is the way the research needs to be conducted in order to better support organizations and the environments in which they operate. And it's not just that the whole process needs to be faster. It's about using automation. It's about using technology to meet the need for speed, for quality, for ease of use, for flexibility, for value, all at the same time. So the pressure on brands and the pressure on agencies to do more with less continues, and efficiencies are needed at every stage of the process to really drive quality insights at pace. Added to this, the impact of the global pandemic has only increased pressures on many aspects of our lives and the businesses in which we all operate. So organizations had to adapt their products, their services, their marketing communications to the changing needs of the consumer. And our way of life has changed. And honestly, some of our behaviors may have changed forever. So testing new products, new services, communications, our brand positioning to ensure that they're going to be relevant going forward. These things have always been important, but they're now more critical than ever before. So the drivers of change, or the challenges faced by organizations, were definitely present before COVID-19. But for some organizations, COVID-19 has really increased that pace of change in line with the changing consumer behaviors. And we've seen research conducted to assess behaviors, to assess attitudes, preferences throughout the pandemic. And as spending and consumer habits have changed, the businesses that can adapt, they have, and they've taken advantage of these opportunities. So just to give you a few examples of that, we've seen beauty brands, we've been helping them understand trends for in-home treatments. We've had gaming companies work with us to test new products and see what the increased demand is as people spend more time and money on media and entertainment services. Subscription service providers have been testing new services and content as their demand increases. And providers of household cleaning products or over-the-counter products have been testing new claims to really ensure that they resonate with consumers. And many organizations throughout this period have been testing new advertising campaigns to ensure the tone is appropriate throughout the pandemic. So being able to adapt quickly has been critical for brands over the last few months. And as a result, we've seen a really significant increase in the use of Agile solutions. And these studies need to be completed in 24 hours sometimes to meet the needs of organizations. So most of the challenges that organizations that we've been speaking to or we've been working with face over the last few months can be really grouped together into a number of key drivers, which have really informed the development of our platform. And I'll take you through these drivers now. So the first one is speed. So pace, the pace at which quality insights are required has really never ever been faster. You know, results are needed in hours sometimes, in days, and definitely not weeks. So having pre-templated questionnaires already set up using an organization's preferred design, or one that our researchers can provide for you, so that best practice is already embedded into the solutions, means that organizations just don't waste time and resources with multiple members of their teams designing questionnaires from scratch. And it means that they can really focus on adding value. And that leads me to quality. So in the past, quality and speed, they were often traded off one against another. But now technology has really enabled best practice and that rigor to be embedded in the solutions. So the design and quality checks are thought through in advance, saving time at the point of use. So standardization of approaches and standardization of data visualization tools really aid this process, as does the ability to understand what good looks like via the application of norms. And it allows you to scale approaches effectively across your organization. So in addition to this, the ability to access functionality, so functionality such as quota balancing capabilities or having relevant blocks of questions that you can add to your questionnaires based on best practice, such as adding in heat maps or adding in timed exposure setups, really increases the quality of the design options for these studies. Another really key driver in the market that we've seen is ease of use. So brands and agencies expect to work with technology that is both easy to use and is intuitive. So most organizations want, they may want to use the platform themselves, or they may want a fully serviced option. And often we're seeing something maybe in between. So an easy to use platform, which enables DIY when it's required, or a fully serviced option when required, but keeps all projects in the same client's account, so it can be viewed by all the team, is really critical. And as is the ability to visualize results in a really easy to use format. So example, if you're sharing results with different stakeholders across your team or across your organization. When you're working at pace, you want to be able to share these results, which are often with people who potentially are not in insight roles, in a very clear and easy to use format. And in addition to this, flexibility is really key. And we understand that in the past, sometimes with platforms or technology that people used, it was a bespoke option or a really fully standardized automated option with little or no flexibility. So a greater level of customization and flexibility for those who require it is being factored into our automated solutions. So flexibility has been added in terms of the ability to add additional questions, whether a monadic or a sequential monadic design is required, or flexibility in terms of those service levels, which I mentioned. So if you want to use it yourself, DIY, or you want an assisted or fully serviced solution. So brands and agencies we know have more than one way of working, and sometimes it's going to be DIY, sometimes it's a fully serviced solution. So this flexibility is now a choice and not something that needs to be decided on for all projects within a team or an organization. And this brings me on to value. So ensuring value is always important, but as our organizations are expected to do more with less, and as the current economic challenges post the outbreak of coronavirus take hold, ensuring value is absolutely key. Therefore, having an end-to-end platform that is easy to use, that's flexible, enables quality insights at pace, supports the needs that we've seen in the market, providing value where it's required. And they're not a separate driver in itself, but technology is really the enabler. So really supporting all the previous points that makes Agile research a reality, and the enhancements continue to be developed. So just to recap, the need for Agile research is clear, and the business problems that we help organizations solve have not changed a great deal. However, what has changed is the way the research needs to be conducted in order to better support organizations and the markets and the environments in which they're operating. So addressing the key drivers of Agile research is critical and has been at the heart of the development of the Toluna START programme. I'm now going to hand you over to my colleague Sahi, who's going to take you through a demonstration of Toluna START, showcasing how these needs have been addressed.
Thank you, Susan. It's a pleasure to be here. Thank you guys for having me. So as Susan mentioned, at the core of our technology groups and teams, and specifically within our product strategy group, it's clients and user centricity as a main principle. We are focusing on specific needs, problems, and this is why we consolidated everything we do to one platform, Toluna START, to focus on solution-oriented environment. So as you can see, and I'll show you that on the platform, the main element is to approach the users with what you want to do today and offer a suite of solutions where you can find your specific needs, and maybe in a very flexible and easy way, you can just launch your study in minutes. And I think the drivers that Susan mentioned was the main focus for us thinking about this development. So at the back end of these solutions, we have our strong capabilities that used us in different standalone products in the past, a strong targeting capabilities, scripting capabilities, qual and behavioral. And the new element we added is a set of automated solutions, which is an embedded methodology that you can easily use to launch a concept test, a pack test, comms testings, and brand health studies. For those of you who are not familiar with us, as Ludo mentioned, we have our own proprietary panel as well, not just the technology, which these integrated panels allow us to host communities for you, fence for you, different target audience for specific studies. But we can also upload your own communities or your own panel and target audience and conduct study with them as well. One of our main engines, and I'll show you a few examples, is our data visualization and analytics engine, where you can consume your results in a very interactive way, and everything is real time. So even if you have 2 or 3 respondents, you can already see some results. So when we focused on the developer, we took the drivers that Susan presented very carefully. So when we say flexibility is not just about the fact that you can have level of services, so you can do everything on your own as DIY, or having us helping you, or even full service. It's even flexibility within the platform. So when you choose a solution, you have a maximum freedom to remove and add elements from these solutions. You have the maximum freedom to change parameters, to change different metrics that you would like to test. And that allows you to use your own methodology or just to modify ours. We focused a lot on value, and this is why we chose to provide our own methodology as part of the platform. And definitely a lot of investment on new user experience to support the ease of use. I think that's a great timing to share my screen. So this is Toluna Start. Welcome. When you are logging into Toluna Starts, the first things you see is the projects that you are working on. So that's very easy for you to go and check, the status, to edit them, to see what is currently ongoing within your project list. But you can always go to your My Project area and see everything you worked on in the past, and you can go back to these projects, you can duplicate them, and I'll show you that in a second. So intuitively, you can create a custom survey and use your own questionnaire and your own methodology, but now you have this suite of solutions that allows you to choose new product development, type of studies, brand health, comms, and for each one of these solutions, you have a dedicated wizard, which can take you through specific steps that helps you to conduct the study, and I'll show you that in a second. Another element that we focused on, it's not just to provide these solutions and the methodology, but also the way our users work with the platform. And we focused a lot on collaboration and sharing things with your peers. So when I go to my project, you can see the list of the projects here. Some can be private only to me as a user, but others can be shared. So you can easily share or unshare projects. And you can also choose the specific creators you would like to see their shared projects on your list. So let's say, Delia, she's the best methodologist in our group, and I would like to see how she conducted a study and to duplicate it to my own. I can just do that, and then I'll see it within my list. And I can duplicate or just look at her projects as well. And you can set it up by teams and groups to make it easy. For each of our solutions, whether it's a custom survey or a templated solutions, we will use our robust targeting capabilities, where you can balance your quota on a cell level and also interlock demographic profiles and custom pre-screeners at this level already. So it's very easy and intuitive. You can drag and drop different elements, and based on that, you can automatically fulfill the cells, calculate feasibility, and go with your target audience to the next step. If you choose to do a custom survey, it's very easy. We have all types of question types, also sophisticated logic, and also the ability to add different scripts to give you sophistication on the question level. But the main element I wanted to focus is these automated solutions. So if I'll click here on pack testing, we will start this wizard that I already created to save us some time. So under pack testing, we have 5 steps to add some parameters that will help you later on with the analysis. We are adding the categories and subcategories that later on can help us with norms and with looking back at the data. We're choosing some metadata. Are we testing a product? Are we testing purchase intent? And then we are adding brands. That's an optional step, but it's helping us from a methodology point of view when we would like to associate the packs with brands and test the familiarity, for example, with our audience. So you can choose your own brand, competitors' brands, you can add logos, images, and then we are actually uploading the packs, and we can choose whether we're doing it like a monadic and how many packs the respondents will see. We have few special capabilities like adding a text highlighter questions. We have time exposure question. And then you can see here, we're adding the pack image. We can add the price for additional set of questions around the price. We can mention if it's new or existing, add the text highlighter content, and obviously the second pack that we want to test with. This is the time exposure that I mentioned. And lastly, and the most important one, is these metrics. Whatever we will choose here will determine the questionnaire questions, right? These are the questions we're about to ask, so you can easily remove what you don't want to test. Later on, you can add your own when you modify the questionnaire itself. And based on the things we chose here, this is the way we will consume the result later on. So once I'll click done here, this will be automatically will create the questionnaire where you can either modify it, or if you are familiar with the methodology already, you can just go to launch. So in like 3 to 4 minutes, depending how much you needed to add like text or images, you can launch a study. And once the results are coming back, you will get a real-time interactive dashboard like you can see on the screen, where you will have the summary of all these metrics. And if there is like a significant difference, you will see it here. And you can check each of these metrics on their own and like, you know, go more in depth on specific metrics and elements that we are allowing here. Each of these results can be filtered, and you can change the weight, you can change the target audience you would like to filter by, or different parameters we are allowing here. And also some unique capabilities that could be part of this questionnaire. So for example, you can actually look at the heat map on specific pack. You can choose between checking pack 1 or pack 2. So very interactive, very easy, very visual, but each of these questionnaires can be exported as well as a PPT, and you can also go to the raw data and see each questions and respondent level data as well. We have the same for concept testing, where we can go up to 12 concepts, and you will have the same granularity as I mentioned. So again, for each automated solutions, you will have a dedicated wizard and a dedicated dashboard here. So this is an example for advertising KPI when you test some advertisement pre or post launch. This is our brand health solution where you can see different metrics and the KPIs that we are testing within this questionnaire. So wrapping up, we focused on collaboration and sharing, the ability to work with your peers. We focused on solutions, helping you increase the consistency when you are working as a group and you would like to conduct testing and you want to use the same terminology, the same methodology. And it's our own methodology, a best in class in these domains for sure. And on data visualization that you can consume. Stop sharing my screen right now, and I will hand it over back to Susan for the discussion. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Tahir.
Thanks, Sahi. We're just going to move into the panel discussion now, and just as I'm speaking, you'll see that people are going to come in and out of the screen. So I'm going to be joined on the virtual stage by our panelists that Lido introduced at the start of the webinar. So just as a reminder of that, why people are joining us, we have Ria from Danone, Chris from Reckitt Benckiser, Joanna from Nestle, Mariko from the Lion Corporation, and Misha from Philip Morris. So you can see that people are joining me now. Welcome to the virtual stage, everyone. It's great to have you here. I just want to kind of explain what's going to happen in the panel discussion to all our listeners today. So we're going to have a kind of 15 to 20 minute conversation, really picking up on some of the themes that we discussed in the earlier presentations, and really understanding not just from the Toluna perspective, how the drivers of the marketplace have informed our development of the panel, but really getting some insight from leaders like yourselves and how that's had implications on your brand. So I think there are still some people to actually join. Whilst they do, I think we'll kick off our discussions, but just to say to those who are listening, we will save 5 minutes at the end for Q&A. So if you have questions you would like to ask to our panelists, please type them in the sidebar and we'll get through as many of them as we possibly can. Now, just to manage expectations, I don't pretend that we'll get through all of them, but we will try and address as many of them as you have. And if you have any questions for Ludo or myself or Sahi that we don't address in this particular section, we will get back to you on them. So we have everyone here, that's great. So just to kick off with, in my presentation earlier, you noticed that I mentioned how things have changed this year and how it's been a very unusual year for all of us. And actually, really, it's not just been dealing with that, it's that people's behaviours have changed. So it would be great to understand how you've all had to adapt your approaches to insights to really better understand the consumer in 2020. And it'd be great if we could kick that discussion off with Joanna. Could I come to you first?
Sure. So, yeah, absolutely. So working in the consumer goods industry, we have seen a lot of consumer behaviour change. And it's not often in our categories that we do. Our categories are generally pretty steady. You might see some change in brands, but not in categories. COVID has certainly done that. And apart from the panic buying, there has been some sustained behaviour change. Now, what we had to do was, as soon as this all unfolded, we had to very, very quickly pivot and start to work out, without knowing what position we were going to be in, how long this was going to go on at the time. We did have to think, what's going on? Why is this happening? In order to forecast. Otherwise, we're going to run out of stock. And so that was actually the big driver for us, was actually working with our demand planners and forecasting team to help them assess what was going to happen in the market. So we had to very quickly jump in and do some agile research, looking at, rather than what was happening, we knew what was happening, things were flying off the shelves. It was actually about looking at why that was happening and whether the intention for that behaviour change that was going on behind it was going to continue. And we did see some huge increases in some of our categories. We're talking kind of 30-40% growth in some of them. Not all of them, but some of them. And of course, that has huge ramifications. And if that is consistently there, it's why and where is that coming from? So we really needed to have a look at that in an agile way, using agile tools, because things were changing so quickly. So we put in place monitoring systems to really have a look at what was going on week by week. And we also made sure that we shared that information with the entire organisation, not just marketing, not just demand planning, because sharing the information that we had was going to create a much, much better discussion in the organisation about planning for the future.
Great. No, thank you for that. And Chris, maybe you want to comment on the same question there in terms of how you've had to adapt your approach. Does that resonate?
Yeah, I mean, very much like Joe, our categories being in home care evolve quite slowly. It's quite gradual. Trends creep. Sometimes our customers get a bit frustrated with us that we're selling the next big thing that takes 3 to 4 or 5 years to actually really come to life. But the next big things happen overnight for us, really. With brands like Glen 20 and Pinoclean, our supply chain was stripped out really quickly. So we faced a lot of the problems that Joe faced, but we've got the added complexity that our pipeline, due to regulatory and safety compliance, our pipeline's actually quite long in terms of time. So we've got stuff coming down the pipeline that's been ideated against these trends sort of 3+ years ago. So, what really became important for us as we're delivering through quite a high tempo of category reviews is to at every stage make sure that we were checking that what we were delivering was still right and adapting where we could. So, I'm very much in a customer-facing role, but every review or strategy day or customer ideation session we were going into, there was bespoke research as a matter of course. And that has really changed for us. Last year, it was, where did we have gaps to close? Because we knew the trends hadn't changed much, but there might just be a few little category or market-specific things we need to close out to. We really don't know anything. We need to stress test everything at every stage. And that's actually where Toluna has been really useful for us, that quick turnaround. I smiled when you mentioned a couple of times the need to turn around things in 24 hours. We're criminals for that. We move pretty quickly from question to decision, can be a matter of days. So yeah, that's really what's happened for us. I think the frequency and the pace of this research has just intensified.
And I think, Chris, if I can just add one thing there, and you're absolutely right, decisions happen really quickly. And if we don't have a point of view or insight to help make that decision, it will be made without insights. And that's why we really need to work really quickly to be part of the solution for much better decision making. Otherwise, those decisions will happen, whether they're good decisions or not, because they don't have all the information.
Well, it's very much a question of who the decision's good for. It can be good for us in the short term without insight input, but actually for that best longer term decision for everyone is where our voice is crucial. And if we don't have the most relevant facts, as you said, we don't get listened to.
Yeah, and we've really seen that with a whole range of clients across totally different industry sectors, so that they really want to make sure that the role of insights has really accelerated and increased during this time within organizations, because they want to put obviously the voice of the consumer at the heart of the decision-making process. But if that process is not quick enough at the quality that you want, then actually the decision is going to be taken for you without having the input. So the speed, I really hear what you're saying, Joanna, quite a lot from people, that you've got to be able to move fast because you want the decision to be made and informed by the data. Rhea, how does that resonate with you? How are things within your organization?
So Danone in Japan works in yogurts. So I don't want to be repetitive. It's probably the same with Joe and Chris, but we have had a huge impact because of COVID-19. And for yogurts, there was a lot of positive impact because of people staying at home, schools closed, and so there was a lot of positivity. But the consumer and the society was changing so rapidly, we shifted our way of social listening from a more project-based to ongoing. So if we plug in, whenever we plug in, we can access to consumer sentiment at that moment.
Amisha, how about for you? What was the saying? Is it similar in your organization, or have you had to adapt in a different way?
So before I start, Susan, I just want to highlight that whatever I'm going to speak about today is all my personal point of view, based on my experiences over the years and across categories, not particularly related to Philip Morris. So I don't want to repeat what Joe, Chris, and Ray mentioned, but I just want to add to that and pick on what Ray actually talked about always being listening to the consumer. That's been critical because his environment is changing every day. And there is a little bit of a human limitation, which needs to be complemented by using technology. Like you mentioned in your presentation earlier, technology is an enabler. I would just add on and say that technology is actually at the core now to almost reinvent insights. Because if you're going to listen to the consumer daily, you've got to add on artificial intelligence to it, listen to their conversations, understand what the sentiments are from these conversations and what they're saying versus what they're trying to say, and those be able to predict and forecast in a much, much more accurate manner of where they're going to be going 2 weeks from now, a month from now.
Okay, thank you for that. And I suppose everyone's explained what the situation is now, and we've had a very unprecedented year, but it's really interesting to see how things will develop maybe in the next 6 months, the next 12 months. And I know it's very difficult to predict at the moment, but it'd be really great to get your thoughts on how you think things will change going forward, given how much they've changed in the last 6 to 12 months. So perhaps, Nisha, we could stay with you and you could give your view on that, and then we can move around the other panelists.
Yeah, thank you, Susan, for your question. This is an interesting question because there's so much that we're seeing changing across around us. And it's not just the country, it's actually globally. There are business models being broken and new ones being made, complete new products coming in, completely new services coming in. So it's all a state of flux. Now, let me start with a small example, which is not really so much in the FMCG or the consumer space, but an example that's very close to my heart. There is a school in Jaipur, in one of the cities in India, which looks at underprivileged kids and special needs kids. When the schools closed in the lockdown, they were in a lurch. So they quickly moved on to online sessions. They had to record the sessions offline because internet was not so prevalent, send it across to them offline, and they kind of developed a hybrid model. So you see the agility, the flexibility that you spoke about earlier has actually become real for these guys. It's the creativity that it has brought out, and they can just leverage this hybrid model and reach many more kids than they used to were able to do earlier. So all this is going to be made. There are many such examples that are going around, and these two words of agility and flexibility and a few more of these are now core to survival. They're not just words; they're core to all of our survival. And what supports all of this and supports us as insights professionals is digitization at scale. And it's not just for manufacturing, not just for banking, it's for us as insights professionals as well. Hopefully, this is going to transform us. And the next 6 months are actually, yes, going to be a little scary in terms of vaccine, etc., whether it comes, but a big opportunity for all of us to change the way research is.
Absolutely, and thank you for that. I really get what you're saying, and actually, if anything, this time, one of the very positive things we can grasp onto at the moment is the huge kind of change in terms of innovation. Is something to take out of a quite difficult and stressful time. Mariko, can we go to you and see, do you want to build on that point and see what your views are about how the next 6 to 12 months maybe develop, particularly in the insights world?
Yeah, I think I want to add from 2 points of view. One is from the consumer behavior, and the other is the consumer insights. Talking about consumer behavior, we deal with various type of hygiene products, such as hand wash and hand sanitizer. And because of the COVID-19, the demand for the those hygiene products is accelerating. But it's quite difficult to predict how long it's going to continue. And so that's one of our challenges. But actually, I look over 8 Asian countries, like, sometimes like Thailand and Indonesia, and we need to do the research in the villages in these countries sometimes. And in those areas, for example, there are some who never washed their hands before, but because of COVID-19, they started wash hands like 10 times a day or 20 times a day. So obviously changes are there, but we don't know how it's going to continue, but it's really going to continue. So, well, that's some area we want to track from the consumer insight survey. And yes, and talking about the consumer insights, survey on consumer insights, yes, I think we're gonna shift more towards the online. So before, like when we wanted to conduct the research in villages, we needed to do face-to-face, traditional face-to-face. But now that we cannot do, we are now shifting. We are forced to shift to online. And before we were thinking it's difficult. It's not able to conduct research in villages. But now that we found that it's feasible, although there's limitations, definitely the market research will shift to online as well, even in a remote area there where the infrastructure of the internet is not solid.
Yeah, no, that makes sense. And Joanna, did you want to build on that at all in terms of maybe any any kind of new techniques or any new ways of working that you have needed to adapt as you've gone forward, or you're thinking that you'll need to adapt maybe in the next 6 to 12 months in terms to respond to this more agile way of working?
So we have certainly adapted what we're doing, and we plan on continuing that. I think one of the things that we are doing more of that we weren't doing prior is actually online qual and immersions. We used to get out and get into people's homes because that's the best way you can do it, to really feel it and be there. It's just not possible at the moment. So we have really pivoted to doing a lot of those on Zoom calls and those sorts of things, and that's been great to get us and the team into the house of our consumers. Obviously, there's lots of quick methodologies that are out there that we're all using, I'm sure. I don't think there's too many particularly new things that are being used. I actually think it's how you're using them and what you're measuring. And one of the big things that we're really thinking about is, we can't predict 3 months, let alone 6 months, about what's going to happen in the future. I mean, if any of us could, A, would be wrong, and B, would be gazillionaires. But I think what we can do is, while we can't predict the future, we can prepare for possible futures. And that's what we're doing, and that's how we're pivoting our thinking to actually plan for how we prepare for futures scenarios, whether that be through asking questions or particular questions that we use, whether it be about how we approach a particular situation. It's actually a mindset change where rather than reacting to the situation we're in, we are actually trying to prepare for what might be thrown at us and try to find maybe some of those early warning signals to give us a steer on which way things are going. But again, we don't know for how long. So it really is about keeping multiple lanes open so that we're always ready for whatever is thrown at us.
Yeah, I completely get that, because I think one of the things that we've seen, one of the fortunate positions you get to be in an agency is you get to work with so many different brands. So you've seen that the ones that adapt, the ones that keep that mindset open, exactly like you said, Joanna, the ones that are open to kind of change and doing things in a different way, they're the ones that are actually taking the opportunities in this very difficult situation and also responding to support consumers at this difficult time. And that kind of leads us on to our final theme, but probably one that I think is really important. It's about how organizations have really kept up with this pace of change and what they've done to really try and pull ahead, because that's where I think people are really able to differentiate, and having that mindset, like you mentioned, Joanna, of open mindset, of being able to kind of change and adapt as things change, not just with behaviours, but we know that research that was done, honestly, in the last few weeks potentially might be out of date in a few going forward. So people need to keep taking the pulse of things to understand how it is. So perhaps I can come to you, Ray, on this one and see and maybe get your view on what your organisation's done and really changing the situation. Ray, I think can I come to you on this one?
So, sorry, can you repeat the question again?
Of course, absolutely. I was just saying it'd be great to understand, given this very quick changing situation, change of pace, and people keeping open to ideas, and your organisation has approached this and how you've kept ahead of the situation.
Yes, so our brand teams always want to keep their decisions to the last minute, which makes... Okay. Sorry, my son came home. And
not at all, don't worry. This is the world that we're all living in. We are all used to this. At any moment, there could be any noise in the background here.
So everything is left to the last minute. The decision making is always very sudden. So as a consumer insights team, we have to always be non-linear, always have all sorts of options open so we can take action at the last minute to make sure that our new product launches and our promotional activity is done at the right timing.
Okay. And Chris, can I come to you on this one? So what's your organisation done to keep up with this pace? So it's not just about doing things quickly, it's potentially going beyond that, like Joanna said, and change of mindset.
Yes, I mean, we've actually developed a lot more inquisitive mindset actually as an organisation, which is always pleasant when you're in the sort of the questioning and answer business. It's given us a much louder seat at the table, I think, because the business is constantly, as Joe said, trying to anticipate where we might be going, looking out for either warning signs or or inklings of new behavior coming through, or trying to understand what we're seeing in some of the harder data like scan and shopper KPIs, but understand the actual real why underneath that. So that's been a big part of what we're doing, and has actually given us a louder voice with our customers as well, our retailers. But then what we also need to do, and we'll be doing as we head through the back of this calendar year and into next, is actually revisiting our strategy, stress testing which bits are still valid, which parts we think we're going to have to wait up, and other parts we might have to put on the back burner for now. And that actually really needs to be founded in data. We built the strategy off consumer and shopper data and proprietary research we actually did with yourselves. But we need to revisit that because while it was best in class, it's almost 12 months old now, and it's a very, very different world to that which we're living in. But I think born out of that,
vintage now.
It is vintage. Yes, yeah, it's almost as old as I feel. What we then also need to do is in the next sort of 6 to 12 months, we see ourselves establishing a more regular cadence and almost cohort-driven research to understand how those trends are playing out and developing, because we've got some insights from claimed behavior and claimed future behavior, but we really need to be stress testing that and like Joe said, watching for any early either red flags or unexpected green shoots to try and adapt.
Brilliant. I want to make sure that we get the opportunity to some questions have come through, and I want to make sure that we at least get 1 or 2 of them answered for people, because obviously they can hear your conversations here, really interested in what the brands that you're representing or representing your personal views, giving them today. And as leaders in the industry, people want to ask some questions. So there's a question here for Nisha. Saying that the Indian market research industry is primarily being revolved around face-to-face interactions with consumers, and how do you feel this is going to change, particularly after the COVID-19 experience? And they want to know, as an insights professional for you personally, what would you expect from agencies given this change? So it'd be great to, if you don't mind answering that, I'll give you your thoughts on it.
Yeah, nice question. First, I want to remove this agency and client thing. We are all insights professionals here. Some of us are directly talking with the consumers, and some of you are talking to the brands. So there's no agency per se. But now, from an insights professional perspective, even though things are settling down, especially in India, I was just reading a report. 80% of the people are still very anxious when they have to go out. So they don't want contact happening. They're trying to adopt contactless, and there are a lot of examples of that being implemented in the market. So all of us as insights professionals need to change this mindset, this way of thinking. The face-to-face is the only way to go and talk to the consumers. It's not. Internet penetrations are pretty good now. Smartphone penetrations are pretty good. We can talk to them on videos. We talk to some retailers on videos through researchers. So all that is pretty possible. It's just that we have to think different. We have to think all of these things are possible. In these days when, this time is fertile for experimentation, the sprint philosophy is what us as insights professional should adopt. And I think as insights, we've been very slow in adopting sprint, which companies, the tech companies, especially the brands, have adopted pretty quickly, which is all about explore, experiment, and learn. So quick. researchers, yes, researchers understanding consumers, but quick, explore what the hypothesis is, experiment, go and talk to them quickly, get some feelers, and then go back into a feedback loop. And do that online, talk to them through videos. All of that is there. WhatsApp is there.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. And I completely agree with you. We're all speaking to consumers. We're all curious inside professionals, desperate to understand what, what people think and feel and how they go about that, and the approaches and how we kind of evolve our approaches are absolutely critical for that. We cannot stay in a situation where we believe there's only one way or a number of ways of doing things. We need to adapt. I just maybe want to squeeze one more question in before we hand back to Ludo for a wrap up. So this is a question, it's actually channeled to any of you. So any of you want to jump in on this. So saying, what changes actually have you embraced in your organizations to speed up the decision-making process, not just with research, but actually in terms of making the decisions you need in the business to get to market quicker? So I don't know if anyone could pick up on this.
I'll jump in quickly. I think for us, it's really about if we spend quality time with our consumers, then we don't need to do formal research to help inform a decision. And then you can act on a decision based on not gut feel, but actually quality time that you spend with your target consumer. And I think that's what we have done. It's about spending quality time with them so that we've got a point of view as a professional on what they will think or feel or do in a particular situation that our brand or business might be in, and we can provide that on the spot. And I think that is something that we have really tried to adapt even more so in the environment, and will continue to do.
Yeah, no, thank you, Joanna. And I'm on that point of valuing everyone's time. We value all of your time, and so thank you so much for being a part of this panel and giving your views. It's been fascinating. I could speak to all of you actually for hours, but we've only got a couple of minutes left, so I just want to thank you for taking part, and I'm going to hand back to Ludo just to wrap up for us for today. But thanks very much for your opinions. It's much appreciated.
Thank you.
What will happen now is Ludo will come back onto the screen while we're all kind of flicking in and out. So please bear with us while he comes back up, and we'll just do a final wrap up and for the day. There you go. Over to you, Ludo.
Yeah, I'm here. Thank you. Thank you very much. It was a very interesting conversation, and it's great to have all these insights managers with us today. It's been a very good show, Susan. Thank you very much for running this, and thank you very much again for our teams to have organized and all our speakers to come. I've taken a few notes, and it's funny how we look at this in 5 years' time. It's very 2020. I've heard a lot of crisis. I've heard supply chain issues. I've heard how do we prepare future scenarios, meaning that, well, we don't want to be a victim in the scenarios. We actually don't want to react. We want to plan. And this is exactly where we are looking forward to helping all brands to take those better decisions faster and to really support the entire industry. It has been a first of this kind for us in Asia Pacific. Once again, I would like to thank our 5 speakers who joined us today from Japan, from India, from Australia. Thank you, all of you, and thanks for the organization. It's been a terrific show. Thank you very much, and we hope to see you next time for another event of this kind. Thank you very much.